RWBY Chibi episode 13. Now, honestly, I keep forgetting that I can go on to Rooster Teeth to watch these episodes because even though they have the star thing, you don't have to have like the premium membership or whatever to do it, which I totally forgot. But watch this episode today. Just finished my review for episode 12, and I really enjoyed this one. Like I was saying for the last episode, I prefer it when it's multiple smaller skits, and it really paid off in this one. And I think I just feel like there's something to that because it's like you started off basically to get to the punchline, and some people might not prefer that, but I kind of do, where it's like beginning, middle, end, really fast, and it still works out. Like I think, and I was super happy that they did this again, but the stuff with Blake and Zwei, I was super happy to see that come back because that was one of my favorites from the first couple episodes, which I was hoping that would be like every single episode they'd have one of those things, but they brought it back for this one, and I loved it. And they had some silly stuff in there. It was short, but it had multiple funny moments. Like I love the beginning when she just thinks about Zwei. I thought it just looked funny because it's just like, and he, for whatever reason, jumped out of a trash can and bit her. But it looked funny, and she's searching, like she looks into a lamp, she opens up a book, and probably the best thing, like even though I really like the ending, my favorite part had to be when she was on the bed and she falls and they just freeze her in place because she fell backwards, and then it's like, boom, cats always land on their feet. So that was my favorite part out of that skit because it just made me laugh because when she's looking over the bed, I was like, that looks funny because she's got those tiny feet and they're just dangling, and then she's like, whoa, and she freezes and then just flips, and I was like, that's just so silly. But you know, they've been making a ton of jokes about, you know, the cat stuff, so excuse me, I thought that was actually really great. I love that one. The workout at the end I thought was really great as well. Nora just destroying the girls. I'm not sure why it wasn't all of Team RWBY. I kind of thought that was a little weird because they had most of the girls, but I guess Weiss doesn't do workouts. She trains or whatever. But I enjoyed that. I thought it was really funny, and Nora's just doing all the, you know, crazy exercises, and they're doing push-ups, and she goes into like overdrive and everything. My favorite was probably when she was doing jumping jacks, and it was almost like she wasn't even jumping. She was basically just, it looked to me at least, kind of like she just looked like she was just sliding around doing jumping jacks. I was like, that just looks funny because she's doing them so fast, and it was just really silly, and I enjoyed that. And then she throws the hammer at RWBY at the end, and we see the rest of Team Juniper, and it's funny because it was like, we see Pyrrha, who has like just a little cast on her arm. Her arm's in a sling. Then we have Ren, who has like the cast around his neck, and he's bandaged up a little more. And then of course Jean is just like frozen in place. Like who knows how he got there, because I'm pretty sure he was just like this on a stool. And I'm like, that's just funny. It's just like, it kind of shows who's, you know, from best to worst. It's like Pyrrha, you know, was so good. It's like, oh, she got a little sling, but she still got messed up. And I love that. I thought it was really funny. Something I realized that I never noticed before about Chibi Nora is that she reminds me of Chucky, the doll from the horror movies. Like, I never noticed that until I was watching this, and I was like, she makes me think of Chucky because she's got the bright hair, and it's because she has like the big head because of the Chibi version. She's got the big head and like the really big eyes with the bright hair. I was like, holy crap, she makes me think of Chucky from the old horror movies, which was crazy when I thought of that. I was like, just certain looks when her eyes are just like wide open, I was like, that makes me think of Chucky, which I thought was the craziest thing. But that's in my head now, so that's all. I'm going to think of that every time I watch an episode now, is that Chibi Nora makes me think of Chucky, the killer doll from the horror movies. So I wanted to mention that because it just, all this time, nothing, and then it was just like, holy crap, it just hit me. Like out of nowhere, she did a certain look, and I was like, that makes me think of Chucky, it was really crazy. But enjoyed both of those. Of course, the opening skit was really funny as well, and then doing spin the bottle super quick. I thought it was gonna be more of a joke on Weiss and Neptune kind of, you know, being together, and I was surprised. And of course, it spins around. And I loved how they did that, because when it's about to stop on Pyrrha, I love that she got super excited. She was like, and then it kept going. She was like, oh, and that made me laugh so much. Like it might have been sad for some people, but for me, it was just so funny because she was just like, holy crap, this is the moment. And then it was like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. And then, of course, Jean got excited because it was about to stop on Weiss. And then, of course, when it kept going, she was like, whew, and she breathed, a sigh of relief. Lands on Ren. Zero expression. And I love that because everybody sees where it lands. Jean freaked out like, oh crap, I gotta kiss my buddy, who's a guy. And everyone's looking at the bottle, and then everybody looks up at him, and he's still just looking at the bottle, and then he finally looks and turns to Jean, and it's just like, well, let me just get this spray, and let's get going. And I thought it was just so funny, because everyone that it landed on had an expression, and he was just like, just nothing, like no words, no nothing, barely even looked, because he didn't look at anybody else, everyone looked at him, and all he did was look straight to Jean, and then he pulled out, the little spray. And I was like, that is just super funny, just the way they did the expressions for the characters, and, lack of expression, I guess, for Ren. And it just made it great, and I really loved the first one. I don't know if I really have a favorite out of these three. I guess, maybe the first one. I guess the first one might be my favorite, and then it would actually be Blake's second, mostly because of the freezing thing when she froze in midair and then landed on her feet again. But I loved all three of these. I thought they all had really funny moments. I was, especially Nora at the end when she threw her hammer at Ruby. I wasn't expecting that. I thought she was gonna throw it on top of all three of them, and it would be insanely heavy and start crushing them. But she just launched it straight at Ruby's face, and knocked her off screen and made it even funnier to me. So I had a really good time with this episode, and this is really the sort of thing that I like when it's the shorter skits and we go through and we get little bits of comedy, which personally I felt they all worked really well in this episode. And it just keeps going, and we got three nice little skits, and I enjoyed every last one of them, and I feel like that's kind of what I want the most, is three little skits. And I thought they were all a nice little balance. This was also a super short episode, so that might be another reason for it, because the last one was 6 minutes long, and then this one was half that time or something. So I guess it almost always depends on what they do as well, because whenever they have a super short one, it's just well, boom, we're done, and that's it. So I guess depending on how long they make the episode in general, which I would assume is based on what they want to make, because they made the last one 5 minutes and they made this one basically half the time. So it's really all up to them as far as how long the episodes are, and I guess they kind of just do it based on what skits they randomly come up with. So I guess I oddly enough, as much as I want them to all be longer episodes, I'd prefer if they were all 5 minutes and we got a ton of little ones, or they were balanced out ones. I still really enjoyed it. Before I actually got into the episode, I was the first thing I noticed was oh man, it's super short. And the last one, with it, especially with it having been 6 minutes, I easily recognized the huge difference in time. And then once I got into the episode, I was just laughing, and so it didn't really matter that it was a much shorter episode than the last one. I actually had a better time with this one than I did with the last one, because I just kept laughing. I felt like I was laughing at a faster rate, I guess, than I was in the last episode. So still enjoyed it. I still wish it was longer, because it still could have been three of these great skits and then maybe just a longer one or whatever. But I still really enjoyed this one, of course. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And we've kind of gotten a bit of an introduction to Sun and Neptune. We got that in the last episode. For whatever reason, they didn't have Sun in the first skit. I thought that was a little weird, because they had Neptune in there, but Sun wasn't there. So that I thought was surprising. And that's why I thought, oh, Neptune's here. That's why I thought it was going to be about him and Weiss, because he was in the shot. And it was oh, he's really just there. They didn't, I thought it's so weird to see, Neptune without Sun, that it just caught me off guard. I was oh, that's weird. But I would love to know, if you could take one character from a team and bring him in, or one character in general, who would it be? Specifically from a team, just because, I've kind of asked the question already, what characters would you guys want to bring in and stuff like that. If you had to bring in one character from a certain team, though, I would love to know which character and, of course, which team, because we got we have multiple teams, of course, and then tons of teams we don't really even know the names for, and brand new teams we know the names for, but we don't really know the characters, but some of them are still really sweet, like Team Auburn. I forgot all the characters. I don't know any of the characters' names because I didn't bother to remember, because, they got beat up and then they're gone. But the one woman who has, the really bright hair, she was a black girl with, really bright hair, I really liked her character design. I thought it was super cool. I don't know how that would translate into chibi form, but I thought she was just super sweet. She was like my favorite person on Team Auburn, so I would love to see her in there. And if, of course, if I had to pick anyone from Team Coffee, it would have to be Coco because I feel like they would have to do something with that crazy Gatling gun. Like I would love to see her have that, and it's like this tiny little briefcase in chibi form, and then it transforms into a giant Gatling gun. But you know she's still in chibi form, so it's like this giant gun, and it's basically the same size as her, which it almost is even in the actual show. Now that I think about it, but those have probably been my favorite too. I don't know why I like the girl from Team Auburn. I just thought she looked really cool, and like the style of clothing that they had her wear. I always thought that looked really cool. So her character and definitely Coco because I think plus Coco is the most vocal of that team. So I'd like to see her as well. But Velvet would be really cool because Velvet's nice and calm, and I with it being the chibi version, there's a lot that they can do with that and go kind of really silly with it. And I'd love to see Penny as well. If even though we don't, she technically has a team, but we only got to see her and the other girl. I would love to see Penny come into play. I don't know how that would really work out, but I would love to see Penny come into this as well. But I would love to know if you had to pick one character from a certain team, or multiple characters, which characters you guys wanted to see. If you had to choose one from certain individual teams, which characters you guys would choose. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.